Hey, I'm Jay.
I'm Matt.
I'm Sean.
And we're Assholes Watching Movies. Thanks for tuning in. So I guess we'll start with the place we have to start this week, because Sean and I saw something really awesome, and we can't stop talking about it. A movie called Swiss Army Man.
It's crazy. It's a crazy, amazing, just unique thing.
It is. Also widely known as the Farting Corpse movie that debuted at Sundance, to both standing ovations and audience members walking out. Certainly there were walkouts in our theater as well.
And you can kind of see it, like, this is a movie that is going to divide people, and I think has divided people, just straight down the middle. You cannot just think this movie was, like, decent.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't work.
It's a love or hate movie, it is. Matt, you haven't seen it.
I haven't seen it, so what do you think is bothering people? Is it things like the farting corpse, or is it
I think, yeah, and I mean, there's, if you think the desecration of a dead body is rude, then you're gonna have low tolerance for this movie.
I think it's rude in real play. But I saw the preview, and it's not it's a preview I would have easily dismissed had it not been for the preview. It already started eating up all the Sundance hype, which right away is going to get you interested almost no matter what the movie is, I think.
Right.
So.
Well, I really enjoyed it. And I thought I would like it going in, but I was blown away by it, and I couldn't believe how good I thought it was, and how much fun I had watching it, and I just really felt completely sucked in by it.
I had a long day before the screening, and most movies I think I would have been alright just nodding off and picking it up, but I didn't want to miss to see what was going to happen, and so I was really, and it kept me engaged. I think that was, for a movie that it's two actors, one of whom is playing a corpse.
Daniel Radcliffe, by the way.
It is amazingly energetic and pretty fun desert island movie.
So Paul Dano plays the guy who's on a desert island, the living guy,
Yes.
and yeah, he sort of befriends a corpse, for lack of better options, played by Daniel Radcliffe, who creates a character for the ages, I think.
I think so. I don't know how he did it. I mean, you see it as he's going, and it really, he always feels like a body, and yet he's talking, he's kind of moving, but then yes, his neck will flop down because he's dead, and it's just cool how he didn't bring the character to life. It was the exact opposite, but it's a character, and it's really neat. He did a great job.
Without really feeling cartoonish, which is a weird thing to say, because if you're, reanimating a corpse right away, that kind of puts you in Frankenstein territory, which we also just saw with Daniel Radcliffe, and he's kind of the best part of that movie, I'd say.
That's it.
But it didn't feel cartoonish. And that's the thing is, I wasn't offended by this at all. I don't care for scatological humor, which, by the way, is a term I think that is made, like, nobody who loves scatological humor calls it scatological humor.
They
like,
should. It's fun as hell to say.
Yeah, but I think you hate scatological humor and you love fart jokes. Like, I think I think that is like two really just different camps. And I'm definitely in the does not appreciate scatological humor, and obviously the whole thing predicates on a corpse that farts a lot.
Yeah.
And yet I tolerated that, and I found other parts to be quite funny and charming, the corpse to be really endearing, and I loved the music in it too. I loved the way they incorporated song into the story, and yeah, I really was kind of enchanted by a movie that I didn't expect to be.
Yeah, it's a special thing, it's a unique thing, it does, I mean, Daniel Radcliffe was awesome. Paul Dano also fantastic, because he's talking to a corpse. I mean, he has lost it, and yet you can understand at every point why this is happening and why he is doing what he's doing, and I think that's a rare thing. It should not be a character you can relate to, but I felt like I could.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting vulnerability there that he kind of ekes out in small doses really, really smartly. Good roles for both of them, so Matt has to see
I
it.
have to see it. Is this the most impressed you've been so far with Daniel Radcliffe? So I know we all appreciate Paul Dano, but Daniel Radcliffe, I don't.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say, he's somebody that, I haven't seen Harry Potter, so I don't have that coloration of him.
Yeah, I've seen it, and it's not like I have an opinion with him one way or another based on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I just watched Victor Frankenstein on the plane back from Las Vegas to Las Vegas, excuse me. And I didn't really have a big love for the movie, but I do have love for James McAvoy, so that was a reason for me to watch it. I didn't expect to like Daniel Radcliffe so much, and in fact, I think I ended up liking him most of all. He plays Igor, and really gives a fresh spin to, I think, and that was maybe the only fresh spin to the movie, so I kind of felt like maybe it didn't super need to be retold. But he impressed me in that, and then, you know, just a few days later I'm seeing him again in another role that it's something so unique that you haven't seen before, and yeah.
So he's making some interesting choices.
He for sure is.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's definitely not going mainstream, but he is making a name for himself, I think.
Finding a way to avoid all the Shia LaBeouf kind of mistakes. Yeah.
Well, he doesn't. I mean, you see him on the talk shows, which I don't usually watch them, but for whatever reason, you see him clips. Maybe it was on the plane.
On the plane, he was on Stephen Colbert. Yeah.
Anyway, he seems like a pretty normal guy, and that's very different than Shia LaBeouf comes off. So I think the comparison does fall apart, and hopefully Daniel Radcliffe can stay on track, because I mean, he's talented. That's no doubt about that at this point.
Good for him.
So Matt, I think you kind of brought this up to me last week, and we discussed it a little bit, just about Sulu in the new Star Trek movie coming out as gay.
Oh, yes.
So John Cho, who plays him in the movie, sort of let that slip in an interview recently, that he will be out in this movie. So
it's a surprise twist on this story.
yeah, I mean, there's. How do you feel about him being gay?
I don't feel super good about it.
Okay. Well, neither does George Takei.
Yeah.
Which is the surprise twist for me.
Yeah,
No, I can
and
see
I
that.
think they sort of thought it was going to be a bit of an homage to him, and that he would appreciate it, and he doesn't. Well, I mean, obviously he's very tied to the character that, you know, he helped bring to life, but I think he mostly feels like it's Gene Roddenberry's character, and we should leave it the way he is, and he has a history of being straight, and we should leave it that
well,
way.
I've got questions about that.
Uh-huh.
I mean, and they're probably directed at you. Now, I happen to remember that J.J. Abrams' first Star Trek came out really around the time I met you and around the time Jay met you. And I remember you really liked it.
I did.
And that was kind of my intro to Star Trek. Were you a fan before that? Like, were you a fan of the William Shatner stuff? Okay, so is Sulu heterosexual or pretty much asexual?
If anything, he's heterosexual. I
Okay.
mean, George Takei is not playing him gay.
No.
And at that time, I don't believe is out.
Right.
There was never a question for me as to his sexuality. I mean, you know, I'm young. I don't really
Didn't really question most of it.
question most of it, but some people, like Elton John, who was like,
You called it.
so.
Yeah. Well, okay. Well, I mean, I read an article that suggested that, I mean, there was never a love interest for Sulu but there was a couple of times where he got handsy. The word was with Aurora, is it her name? Aurora?
Yeah.
On a couple of episodes. But generally, other than that, he was pretty much, his sexuality wasn't mentioned. And Simon Pegg's point, or whoever it is, maybe it's the director, was saying that him being kind of straight was never so much an artistic choice, so much as just the reality of network 70s television at the time.
Yeah, I mean, the only one of them that really has love interest is Shatner. All the way through, okay?
Was that Aurora, or?
It's everyone.
Okay.
It's everyone. It's every alien that comes in.
Shatner was the man.
He's hitting on. Like, that's Kirk. He's a womanizer. No one else really has relationships.
Okay.
They're just showing up to work, and we don't go beyond that.
But do we really have to stick, and we kind of thought about this last week too, TV and movie, do they have to?
No, they don't, but the thing that makes me uneasy about this is, why are we making the gay guy, the guy who just, the real life guy, happened to be gay? Like,
Yeah.
I think that's...
And I assume that was George Takei's point, which apparently it isn't.
No.
I thought, I was like, okay, I could see how he'd be offended by that. It's like, well, I never played him gay, but because I'm gay, now all my characters are suddenly gay in your eyes, even though George Takei was in the closet officially at the time.
And I would have thought that was his objection too. So what is...
His objection is basically that in his, well, here, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Basically, he happens to know in the creator's mind who, like, with all due respect, I'm assuming is probably dead.
He is. He's
Yeah,
been dead for a long time.
yeah, I would assume, because it is the 50th anniversary, right? Basically, he happens to know that in his mind, even though it was never officially said on the show, really, he was heterosexual.
But probably everyone would have been heterosexual.
Yeah, and that Gene Roddenberry actually wanted and intended to introduce a gay character at some point. And Simon Pegg, who co-writes the script, considered introducing a new character who was gay, but felt like if he did that, it would be the gay character.
Yeah.
And that character would be defined by the sexuality. But by making a character that we already know and love, just it be kind of a detail in his background, just like me and you. He doesn't come out of the closet. In this universe, he's never been in the closet. We just haven't happened to see his husband before, and we do in this movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which could work. It makes me uneasy that it's Sulu. If it's almost, I mean, you could do it with any of them, really. So
even though they've already sort of established Kirk is straight in this universe, actually they've established Spock is straight. So you're starting to run out of.
Well, Kirk could be bisexual.
He could be bisexual too.
I mean, that would fit in with the character.
And I mean, there are more of these movies to come, I'm assuming, so you never know where it's going. But I think it's interesting, it's true that what I keep hearing about this is that, I mean, Sulu was sort of, it was never mentioned. So here we are, we're not necessarily messing with Star Trek canon, so much as fleshing out stuff we didn't know, which is, I mean, whether you love sequels or remakes or anything, that's what you hope they're going to do, is flesh out the story or explore the parts that haven't been.
Finally get to a character we haven't.
Right.
We've only seen him on the ship so far, and now we get to know his backstory a little bit. And I think there's also a point where, you know, these movies really are their own universe. It's not necessarily a continuation of the television show.
It's explicitly not. That's the first one, J.J. Abrams.
So in this iteration, Sulu is gay. And we wouldn't have a problem with that except for it happens to be George Takei's character, and
it feels
a little weird.
It feels a little weird. Which, again, it's hard because that's the whole point of Star Trek, right? Like, this is explicitly, Gene Roddenberry has created this show to be inclusive. You look at it, it checks off all the boxes, right? This is the show that is the first interracial kiss on U.S. network TV.
I forgot about that.
So they have a black woman in a position of power, they have an Asian man, they have a Russian because it's the Cold War.
Yeah.
I mean...
Not in space, it's not.
No, but at the time. So that, and then it's the message of, everyone works together. The world in the Star Trek universe has united against, because of there being alien threats. There's no, national politics. They're all on board.
Humans.
Humans. yeah, they're together, they've been united, and it's idealistic that way. So it fits that you would have a gay character on Star Trek.
So would you have been a little more comfortable had they made it be, say, Chekhov or Bones? Because
Or Scott.
that was
I mean,
presumably straight characters?
But again,
Actors, rather?
yeah, I mean, that's the only question mark. Because again, none of them stick out as having had relationships.
Right.
And Kirk doesn't have relationships. He just has sex or makeout sessions. So, no, it's a blank slate really as far as everyone else.
It's funny, I always think of William Shatner's delivery as so dry that I always thought the sort of kind of cocky womanizer thing was a Chris Pine addition to it. I didn't even know he was like that in the show.
Total Shatner.
Really, eh? Okay.
He's
Must
often shirtless too.
William Shatner.
His
My
shirt
goodness.
kept getting ripped off when he had to
Ooh.
fight
Yeah.
on alien planets.
Oh my.
Well, it's 50 years ago, so I guess why not? How would you have felt though if they added a new character and had them be the gay character? Can you see how maybe
It's hard to
that
add
would
a new
be?
character. I mean, they've
Yeah.
tried that in the movies.
Mhm.
I think back to the first one, they have a new white guy commander,
Mhm.
second in command.
Mhm.
He doesn't really work. That movie's one of the worst ones. They have Kirstie Alley as a bald-headed Vulcan in around that same time for a couple, I think. 1 and 2, 2 and 3, something like that. I mean, it feels weird.
I'd like to think that you're making up that Kirstie Alley thing, but I think you're
It's
not.
real.
It's real. Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, I see the point about the new character. I mean, first of all, it sounds like a terrible idea, given the examples you gave, but also, I mean, you want it to be where, from our eyes, maybe this is kind of cutting edge stuff, but in the universe of this is the future and everything, you just want it to be a matter of fact thing. You don't want it to be like this big point. And it's kind of unfortunate now that all the talk has made this new Star Trek movie, which until George Takei started talking, I forgot there was a new one coming. And now this is really what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And especially with Anton Yelchin
Yes.
dying, obviously, so suddenly, what is going to happen with that? I mean, is this the last one?
Well, definitely the press tour has been very subdued. And so that might be a reason why we haven't heard much about it. It's been very hard for his co-stars, who sound like they're also pretty close friends,
Yeah.
to do this. And I know a lot of their Q&A sessions were shut down, and I think they're in mourning, and it's kind of more a bittersweet time to be touring on this movie right now.
Yeah.
So it's too bad. I think, having Sulu just be gay and there not be a coming out, it just be like a matter of fact thing, sounds like a nice way to do it, it not be a big deal, and yet it's turned into a big deal.
It's turned
So
into a big deal. Yeah.
they, we've robbed them of that, unfortunately.
And I'll bet it's 1 or 2 scenes.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's really not, it wasn't supposed to be a big deal. It was actually supposed to be a nod to George Takei.
Yeah. And adding to the drama, of course,
Mhm.
George Takei says that he spoke with them objecting to it months ago,
Okay.
back when it was possible to change. He said, I think a new character. He loves the fact that there being a gay character. He wanted a gay character back then, just like George, the guy, wanted.
Mhm.
And he said, why don't you create a new character? I think that would be a better tribute.
Mhm.
And he was very disappointed to find that they completely kind of ignored him on that.
Yeah. Well, I think Zachary Quinto,
Who is
Please.
gay.
Yeah.
yes, who is gay, plays Spock.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. There's all this disagreement going on. Zachary Quinto had to disagree with George Takei and really felt like this was a nice way to do it. I have to say, they've all been nothing but polite with each other. Completely respect, which we never see. So it's actually been a refreshing little debate. If it has to be a debate, that's fine. But they've all been very respectful, and so
I think that's cool. I do think
everyone has their opinions, but nobody's tearing anyone down over it. And
You kind of get the sense that that is how Star Trek is. That anyone that's been on the show, one of the many shows, multiple of the many shows, any of the movies, I mean, it's such an institution. I think they're proud to be a part of it, and it's family-ish, where the other people that are in it, yeah, I think you do really, there's some bond there. I think it's neat how so much of it, because of the movies, is overlapped when we get the changeover from the original cast of the movies to the next generation cast of the movies, that there is that handoff, and it's both William Shatner and Patrick Stewart fighting together through the magic of time travel, which is always a nice little thing. Yeah, I just think there is, I'm glad to hear that is how it's been done.
Yeah.
That fits.
Well, I mean, you intend something as sort of a tribute, and they kind of are just disappointed by it, not so. I mean, I just get the sense that, I mean, they would have loved him to love this, and they're just kind of disappointed because that's not the spirit it was intended, and they're trying to convey that. And he's being pretty respectful. He's just saying he's disappointed.
Yeah.
And
Well, that's the thing. It's very respectful on all sides, and I kind of admire that.
And I, you know, I respect him. I mean, and he's out of the closet, but he's also, my understanding, is quite vocal and quite involved in LGBT causes. And I mean, I respect in the sense of like, I think it's kind of cool, but also, I don't know what it's like to be so close to something that touched so many people. And you know, he certainly has a right to be a little disappointed. But I think it would be great to keep an open mind. I'm glad that they're making this step one way or another.
So Sean, I kind of wanted to get your opinion on something.
Okay.
Being our resident law expert.
Okay.
I don't know if you heard this week. You remember the shooting at the movie theater, Aurora?
That Dark Knight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the victims had sued the movie theater,
Okay.
and the movie theater was found not responsible.
Right.
So Cinemark Theater is now suing the victims back. So in Colorado, you are allowed, if you are found not guilty, you are allowed to sue the victims for your court costs.
Okay.
Now this is a huge, huge deal, so it's like $700,000 over 30 victims.
Yeah.
And they're asking for the cash. They're suing for it.
So here in Ontario, your costs are part of every suit. You don't have to countersue. That's the risk you take when you're bringing a lawsuit. So absolutely, that would have been a massive, massive legal bill to defend against that. I think it's it's a hard claim for the victims to make, because when we talk about the theater's responsibilities, anyone's responsibilities, the starting point is what you can anticipate. Have you taken reasonable steps? And I think for someone to bring an assault rifle into a movie theater,
It
it never happened.
prepare
It
for.
never happened.
Yeah.
I mean, you have people there. Like, this is not something I think could have been anticipated at the time.
Yeah.
Now, maybe things have changed.
But what I'm really asking,
Okay.
no, what I'm really saying is, isn't this disgusting?
The whole thing. I mean, obviously
Like,
it started.
it's
as something
unfortunate,
terrible.
and that's a lot of money they had to spend, but I mean, it's a PR nightmare move, and I can't believe anyone let them do it, to sue the victims. Like,
Well,
you look pretty bad doing it.
it's unfortunate because the people who should be footing the bill are the lawyers who advise their clients to bring the suit forward, because I'm sure this was a contingency file for the lawyers, which means they're looking to cash in, and they didn't. So they're out, whatever, their time. But yeah, again, they've created this massive piece of litigation. That's something that shouldn't have happened, and it should have been at the gateway, and lawyers are supposed to be better than that, and it doesn't actually
They weren't
happen.
this time.
You can always find someone who will take your case, but it's no good all around, basically.
All right. Now let me get both your takes on this. I know you're both pretty big fans of Mad Max Fury Road.
Yes.
Yes.
And I think one of the reasons we loved it was it looked so different than most apocalyptic movies.
Yeah.
The colors were so saturated. It was really looked so different than what we're really used to, like the drab, depressing landscapes we're used to. But now George Miller is saying he sold it to the studios on that concept, but he loves the movie in black and white. So on a new DVD release, he is including a black and white version of Mad Max. Not only is it black and white, but it's only got the score.
No dialogue?
No.
I can't wait to see it.
Okay.
I don't know if
You're
it's a great
excited.
idea, like I can't picture it,
He thinks it looks
but if
as it should, as he wanted. He
Yeah.
loves the look.
that's the kind of thing. I mean, if that's what he's saying, then I'd love to give it
Check
a
it out.
shot. I mean, I think I might prefer the version we saw in theaters.
Mhm.
Hard to
But-
imagine it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not a lot of dialogue in it. The dialogue doesn't really drive the movie, but
Right.
it's strange.
But would you watch it?
I'm curious.
Okay, so it's called the High Octane Collection,
Oh boy.
and it's the black and chrome edition on it. It's like a DVD extra.
Is it chrome? 'Cause that would be
Well,
awesome.
I'm starting to regret every time I buy a DVD when it first comes out, because they always give the shitty one right out of the beginning.
Yes, it's true.
And then 6 months later, a year later,
People did complain about this, is because they already released it on DVD and it did not include that.
They do always do it though. Like
Yeah.
it's really,
Get you to spend twice.
yeah.
and that wasn't you, Sean, sorry, that just said that the dialogue doesn't drive the movie. But they accomplish a lot with a little,
Mhm.
I think.
That's
You
true.
know, like it's these things that they say to each other, and these aren't people who are of many words.
It's true.
But they do get their point across
Yeah.
quite well with that, and so I think you'll be losing something with
Well-
without that.
It just kind of has a silent era flavor to it.
Yeah.
And I wonder if that's what he's going for.
Well, it's actually, I saw The General for the first time ever, a Buster Keaton movie, and all I could think of was it kind of reminded me of Mad Max. So,
There you go. Well, it does sound like, I trust him. If he says it works, I bet it works. But I kind of agree with Matt that, the dialogue is sparse, but it's smartly sparse. And I think if it works, it'll be working on a different level.
Yes.
Like a more, silent era, but a more like, almost like watching a play, or it'll be a different movie for
I
sure.
wouldn't mind if they turned it into The Artist, or like The General, where the dialogue is kept, but it's on the flash cards instead of.
There's an old lady playing the piano.
You probably will understand it a lot better than hearing Tom Hardy mumble. So,
Well,
yeah.
there you go. Solution for every problem.
Yeah. So I
Excellent.
wonder. I doubt he's going to do just what I said. Because I don't think. Because why would he? But I don't. It's too late now.
Oh,
But
well, there's always
I
the
also,
fourth
it
edition.
doesn't sound like a tribute to the silent era so
Right.
much as this is just
His own-
his silent movie.
Yeah.
So it's some of the colors and some of the explosions and things. I wonder how they would look
How it would
without the more complex texture of
Mhm.
color film. So I want to see it. I'm gonna buy possibly a second DVD of it.
All right. Well, we're on board. We're gonna watch it.
Yeah.
We'll check it out. We'll discuss it next time.
Once Matt buys it.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that's pretty much our time. So thanks everybody for watching.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.